All right, in this video, we want to sketch these sine functions with transformations given in these questions. So let's start with this first one here, and we want to sketch between 0 and 2 pi. So let's just take a look at some of the key features on the graph. It's a negative, so we have a reflection in the x-axis. Amplitude is 2. My k value is 2, which means that my period is always my 2 pi divided by k, which is just pi in this case. So we're going to have two periods between 0 and 2 pi. And then I have a phase shift of pi over 4 to the left. And my equation of axis is y equals to 2. So now when I'm doing my sketcher, I'll sketch my y-axis first. And I will always put my equation of axis in the dead center. I'll also leave a bit of space on the left because even though this is between 0 and 2 pi, we might have a shift to the left that would be a little bit important in terms of sketching. So I'll put my equation of axis directly in the middle, which is y equals to 2. Then my amplitude is 2, so that I know that my maximum is going to be 4 because axis plus amplitude is max, and then axis minus amplitude is my min, which is just going to be 0. It's basically my x-axis, so my minimum is on my x-axis in this example. Now, I know that this is a negative sine wave, and a negative sine wave normally starts on the axis, but it's shifted pi over 4 units to the left. So the first point on this graph is going to be negative pi over 4 and 0. Now, this won't actually be part of the graph because our graph is between 0 and 2 pi, but we need this point to figure out the rest of our points. To find my next key point, I'm going to always take my period and I'm going to divide it by 4. So pi over 4 that's going to be the distance from one key point to the next. So for a negative sine wave, I'll go from a maximum to, from my axis to my minimum. If I add pi over 4 here, it'll be exactly at 0, 0. Then my next point is an axis point, which is going to be adding another pi over 4, so positive pi over 4. Then my next point is my maximum, and if I add another pi over 4, I will get pi over 2. And then if I add another pi over 4, you can always do this in your calculator if you can't do it mentally. In this case, I can do it mentally. It's a bit of an easier one. So this is going to be 3 pi over 4. And then my minimum is my next point, which is going to be at pi. Next point is going to be at 5 pi over 4. I'll keep going till I hit 2 pi. This is going to be adding another pi over 4, so that's 3 pi over 2. And then this one over here is going to be 7 pi over 4. And if I add another pi over 4, my last point for this graph is going to be at 2 pi. When sketching out your graph, don't include that first 2 points because we only want to draw between 0 and 2 pi. I'm going to go like this. Oops, not super smooth there. Probably should draw it with pencil as well because it's easier to erase mistakes in your test. But that would be the graph of this function. in between 0 and 2 pi. Take a look at the second example, which is kind of similar, but just slightly harder. Now, if I look at this example, I have a k value and a d value, but it's not factored out. So my first step is to actually factor out the k value, which in this case is 1 over 4. If I factor 1 over 4, I'm left with x minus pi over 4. Now I can state all my key features. So I know that my amplitude is 0.5. My k value is 1 over 4. My period is 2 pi divided by 1 over 4, which is just 8 pi. So I'm only going to fit a quarter of a wave in this entire function, because 8 pi is 4 times 0 and 2 pi. My phase shift is pi over 4 to the right, and my equation of axis is y equals to negative 5. I'll start by drawing my y-axis, and I'll leave a bit of a gap to the left in case. Actually, I don't need it in this one because the phase shift is to the right, but I'll leave it just in case anyways. I'll put my equation of axis directly in the middle, which is y equals to negative 5. My amplitude is 0.5, which means that my maximum is negative 4.5 and my minimum is negative 5.5. My x-axis is going to be all the way up here at 0. And then I know that my graph is a positive sine wave, which normally would start at the axis, but I'm phase shifted by pi over 4 to the right. So my starting point is going to be somewhere over here. I'm going to keep it pretty close to the axis because the period is 8 pi here. So because my period is so big, I don't want to take a lot of space for such a tiny transformation. Now, I want to find my next key point. So I'm going to take 8 pi and divide it by 4 to find the gap between key points, and that's just going to be 2 pi. So from one key point to the next, it's going to be 2 pi. So for a positive sine wave, I go from the minimum till the maximum, the axis till the maximum from one first key point to the next. This is pi over 4. 2 pi is going to be somewhere all the way over here because it's 8 times the distance. Oh, sorry. I have to add 2 pi to pi over 4. So 2 pi plus pi over 4. I'll do it in my calculator. I'm pretty sure it's 9 pi over 4. Yep, it is. This point over here is 9 pi over 4. I basically added 2 pi to my first point. So since my graph is between 0 and 2 pi, which is slightly less than this, my graph is going to end over here. So this sine wave is going to look basically like that. It's not going to hit this point because we don't draw past 2 pi, but if we drew past it, it would pass through that point and then just going to come down here, just going to hit slightly low over here. We could find the next minimum, which would be quite a distance away, somewhere over here. If we subtract 2 pi from that point, the minimum would be somewhere over there, but we don't need it in this question because this is the entire graph for this question, and that's what having such a small k value and such a large period does when you're drawing between 0 and 2 pi. If you made it to the end of this video and you found this content helpful, please hit that like and subscribe button as it really helps this channel. I'm really close to 1,000 subscribers, just 12 subscribers away, so really close to getting monetized. So I would really, really appreciate it if you did that for me.